Guys, welcome back to another episode of Rennch. I'm Michael O'Neill. Behind me is a 1969 Porsche 911, affectionately named the Gray Ghost. On today's show, we are going to begin the process of updating and upgrading every single electrical component on the car. Stay tuned. Now, if I look a little daunted by today's task, and it's not just today, this is going to be a long, ongoing process, but we're going to start it today. It is because it is a massively daunting task. If you guys have any old Porsches or old Volkswagens, you know how much of an absolute mess the wiring can be. Sometimes the wiring, like in this car, looks like a literal rat's nest. So, I have a ton of things that I want to update and upgrade on this car. I have to clean up a ton of wiring, fix a bunch of systems that aren't functional at all. I also want to upgrade some of the systems so I don't have these 55-year-old lights in the car, but I have more modern LEDs. Here's a short list of the things I need to do on this car to update all of the systems. Number one, the fuse panel. When I show you guys what it looks like in there, you're going to run for cover, especially because this particular car, the 1969 911, is unique amongst all 911s in that the wiring diagram is different than literally every other version of the car. If you have an early 911, but it's not a 69, consider yourself lucky because I'm about to pull all of my hair out. So anyway, fuses, I've got to replace the fuse panel with an amazing piece I'm going to show you guys in a second. I want to upgrade my headlights, and for those, we're going to use some 911 house or 9 house headlights that will be here probably next month. Taillights. I have a taillight on the right-hand side that just decides to work when it wants to. Very often, it's just a bad ground, but I really have to make it permanent. There's some stuff on the actual chassis of the light that needs to be fixed. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet, but we're going to get there. My backup light is not actually a backup light that functions. I have a toggle switch on my dashboard that when I flip the toggle, the backup lights go on, and that's because we couldn't figure out a way to get the backup lights working. So I have to do that. I've got to integrate it with my Wevo shifter so that when I actually go into reverse, the car reverses and the light goes on. I want to fix my stereo. So I have a hidden stereo that's a Bluetooth stereo that I actually use. It's like a marine audio system where it has a marine amplifier, so it's all hidden. And I just use my phone to listen to tunes when I want to listen to tunes. It's not been working for months. I don't know why. For that, I've got to pull out my passenger seat and look underneath and see what's going on with that. My interior lights, again, are 50-something years old, and I want to update them with new modern LEDs. There's a couple of ways you can do that, including a hack from Amazon where you can buy these really cool like 20-panel LED lights and have like really bright interior like a current modern car. And then if I want to, I'm gonna install a license plate light. I don't even know if I have the wiring in this thing to have a license plate light. I've never been pulled over or anything for it, but I just think it looks kind of cool. And then I also considered maybe doing some kind of cool mood lighting on the inside of the car because I am a bit of an LED fan. All of those things are going to be done on this Upgrading the Electrical series. But today, we're going to upgrade the fuse panel. And to do that, we are using this lovely piece of kit from Classic Retrofit. This is a replacement fuse panel for all early 911s. And it takes, hold on a second. I'll show you guys what it takes. All right, so this thing takes these old school like Volkswagen Bug fuses. You've all seen these, right? And you got to sometimes wriggle them in there and they fall out and they're really bad. And it replaces them with lovely modern fuses. The other thing it does, which is really cool, is this whole strip has LEDs on it. So if you have any fault in whatever that wiring system is, let's say a fuse blows or something, the light lights up. So you actually have some sort of troubleshooting on the systems of your car. Now, in theory, if you have a non-1969 911, this is as simple as unscrewing one side, screwing it in, then unscrewing the other side, screwing it in, and then bolting it in, and you're done. Couple hours, maybe. However, because it's me, and because this car is unique, it's gonna take a lot more than that. Everything is unique on my fuse panel. Thankfully, Johnny from Classic Retrofit was nice enough to give me a cheat sheet for other people that have done a 69 car. So if there's gonna be a little bit of investigation to figure out how this thing's gonna work. But when I show you guys what my actual wiring looks like in this car, you're gonna go, how does it function? How have you been able to drive that car at all? Because it is an absolute rat's nest, especially because I have updated the relays so I can run more powerful lights. The cool thing, again, about this panel is that the relays are built in. So that's fantastic. Let's just jump in and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So if you guys have not met this car yet, this is my 1969 911. It's powered by a 1995 Porsche 993 air-cooled engine. This thing has done a ton of Targa rallies, as evidenced by all of my Targa signs up there. It's awesome. It's just a ripping car. Powerful, super fun, and it's got a lot of history. This is my first car build in like 2008. I'm going to show you guys this, and I want you to not run away from your screens if possible. But this is the nightmare that I'm looking at for wiring. It's all over the place, and I can sort of walk you through what we're looking at here. Number one, this is the stock fuse panel. Okay, great. This whole chunk, and by the way, I'm responsible for some of this. I did these lights in like 2008. I've added these relays. You can make a more powerful light. You can run these H4s if you set relays to it. So that involves cutting off the original wiring and adding these relays in. It's a whole thing that you do. And then this whole chunk, I ran out of places to put wires when I did my Classic Retrofit electric AC, of which I did like 5 or 6 videos on. So what I need to do is, because the Classic Retrofit new fuse panel allows for not only these wires, but also to get rid of this stuff, I will be able to clean up this entire thing so it looks really good, I hope. And then following over to the battery, I just need to clean all of this stuff up. I just want it to look nice and not be a complete and utter nightmare, and also then be trackable. What I've got here for diagnostics is a 6869 diagram, and this one should be pretty accurate. I then have the Classic Retrofit. Johnny had sent me this pinout for their fuse compared to the stock stuff. So what I'm going to do first is just double check that what's on this cheat sheet actually corresponds to what I have in the car. Faded red ×2 is number 6. Yeah, I've got one red there. Here's my plan of attack. I'm going to pull the fuses out. I'm going to disconnect all of the external stuff that I have connected right now. Stereo system, Classic Retrofit AC. I don't know what else I have, but definitely those two. I'm gonna wire at least the right side exactly like my spreadsheet says. I'm gonna then hopefully see if I can wire the left side like my spreadsheet says, in the hopes of all systems on the car functioning like they are right now. Headlight relays. That's a lot of wires to get rid of. And I have this crazy connection. I don't exactly know where it's from. After getting rid of all that relay stuff and disconnecting anything that wasn't factory, I'm left with the stock fuse panel. Getting rid of all the relay stuff was huge, but I still have these wires. One thing I don't remember, because it's been a long time, is if I cut off the original plugs on the inside of this, which I may have done. And if so, I'm going to have to figure that out. I don't know if I've cut those off of this plug on the other side, so I need to double check that. I hope I didn't. I hope I just zip tied it. That would have been smart of me. Otherwise, I'm going to pull these things off now, and start working on sort of one system at a time. Get this side first and then get the other side. I did take a picture of this ahead of time, so I do have photos to refer to just to make sure that I get everything set the way it's supposed to. One thing I need to do is expose some wire on these, which have been cut off for many years now because they're going to go back in. So I guess I'll do that now and then start working my way down. Literally take one off and put it in. All right, so I've got one side done. Again, I just went one at a time, worked my way down, had my spreadsheet for reference. So I'm a little confused. There's two spreadsheets that say slightly different things. So I'm hoping I got this right. At the very least, I will oppose the wires in the correct way. So the correct wires will be in their spots. First test will be once I get that done, I'm going to actually just start the car and see what's functioning and what's not. I imagine this thing might light up like a Christmas tree, but hopefully it won't. All right, after quite a bit of fiddling and the fact that I had to extend these yellow wires, which wasn't fun, I've got it. So this is basically the stock configuration on each side. The thing's not bolted down yet. It's very worth noting that this screw, it's required that you screw the thing into the chassis because this grounds the entire fuse panel. And without this screw, the fuse panel won't be grounded and it probably won't work correctly. I have a number of wires that are just kind of hanging out and I don't know what they do. A lot of them are like things that I've put on here, so I'm okay with that. Like my radio not working. This is all for the Classic Retrofit AC. I will eventually get all that stuff on here, but I want to see that the OEM systems work well. The really good news is there's a lot of room for activities. I have a lot of spots here, like number 9 and 10 are unpopulated. This number 8 down here is unpopulated. So I've got some spots where I can actually stick some stuff. So I'm hoping to have a nice sorted panel for all of these systems that are not factory and, clean the whole thing up so it looks really good. I'm going to unbolt this thing, which was this weird battery thing that I had connected to my relays. And what I haven't checked yet is to see if these wires are still there. So I need to make sure that my headlight wires still exist. I'll be able to check that relatively easily. I'll bolt this thing down, disconnect all this stuff, and then see if the thing functions, see if my systems are functioning okay. The big challenge right now is that I don't know actually what fuses go in what spots. I don't know what amperage I need to fuse this stuff. So I'm going to go do a little bit of research on the online and see if I can figure that out. Then I'll bolt this thing on and give it a test. All right, we are kind of at the moment of truth here. Got everything cleaned up as much as I could. Things bolted on. I've extracted as much of the headlight relay stuff that I can. And I'm actually really looking forward to rewrapping some of these wires and just cleaning all this stuff up. But as far as I know, the OEM stuff is where it is supposed to be. And I'm going to turn the key on now. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect the battery and see if anything weird happens. And then I'm going to turn the key on and start testing different systems. All right, battery ground going on. Okay, nothing weird yet. Good, it's a good sign. Battery ground is on. I have no warning lights. It's good news. Okay, here we go. Now, as far as I know, this thing should function relatively normally, except for the headlights shouldn't work. So this should be a red light. And I got literally nothing. Okay, back to the drawing board. Okay, let's start at the beginning with Mr. Multimeter here. And check that we have a car. Yep, okay, that's good. And are we hot here? Okay, yeah, that's hot. That's not. That's not. That's not. Okay, that is not doing anything. All right, just turn the key on to see if that did anything. In terms of feeding my little networks here. All right, well, let me continue to investigate here. I'll be back. Okay, I think I'm in a situation where the 69 911 has bit me in the butt a little bit. So what I've done here is I've just gone right from the top, 1 through 8. I think there's an issue though. You see how this is separated? There's a 1 and 2, and then there's these little white markings between the lugs. That indicates that they're all connected together. And on the wiring diagram of the 69, and actually on the block itself, you see how these 5 are all connected together for the first 5? I think because I'm feeding my line here, this is the main feed, this is the 12 volt, but it's not getting anywhere because it's not connecting to any of these other hot sides. So I'm actually going to move the entire thing down 2, and I think that will solve my issue. All right, I actually had an idea. So I realized that if I use this as a bridge between the hot side that I know works and the rest of it, I should be able to get some functionality, and then that's how I'll know that I have to move the stuff down, I think. But this is working. Somewhere in here I have like a fuel pump relay that should fire up. Relays are working. I've got power to relays. I hear them clicking. It's good news. All right, so yeah, that's the deal. I need to move this stuff down to where it's going to be getting constant power. So this is just an issue with the 69. Like I said, it's a weird year for this. All right, I've got everything moved. Now I got to take a break because my knees are killing me. Let's see here. Let's reconnect. Okay, that's a good sign. There's a spark. All right, let's see here. All right, turn signal good. Turn signal good. I think the car will turn over. I've got no fuel pump at the moment. Yeah, okay, that's good. So I think one of these bundle of wires is probably the fuel pump. So phase 1 is done effectively. Looks like everything works the way it's supposed to. I do have a few things that are disconnected, so I'm gonna have to reconnect those. Those are all the extraneous wires. So what I wanna do is figure out what goes where and if I need to run actual power to it. So I'm gonna do that. I think I'm close to at least getting like the basic functionality back, and I still have to do the headlights. So that's gonna be next. Okay, so phase 1, which is getting the car to work how it worked before, minus headlights, is done. But I had to make a few tweaks, so let me show you what I had to do. I had this breakout box, this weird thing here, and I'd had my fuel pump wired to it, and it was a switched box, and obviously this is not what we want to do. So what I did is I made a little jumper wire that went from the switched number 6 to these top 2 bars, which makes the top 2, which are connected, you can see the little white lines there. This whole thing is now a switched power source. So I can use it for my Classic Retrofit air conditioning, so I'll wire that in there. But I also used it for my fuel pump. So what I'm gonna do now is pull my headlights and see if I can get them to work again. Again, using the built-in relays that are in this box. Once that's done, I should be able to connect my Classic Retrofit AC to the top here and then shorten all the wires that need to be shortened so it kind of all tucks in nicely. Bundle them all, and then we should be good with this particular install. All right, so I've got a bit of the light wiring harness disconnected here, and I'm definitely seeing that I snipped these original wires pretty close a long time ago. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm going to try to cut this thing back, give myself a little wiggle room to reconnect these, which were my wires, to the original, and then tape the entire thing back up, in which case I'm hoping that my lights are going to work again. All right, so I've got these things connected. I'm going to reconnect this headlight. Now, in theory, this should work. Nothing. Plug is disconnected. It's never going to work if a plug is disconnected. All right, that's plugged in. Still no. Oh wait, okay. All right, I've got regular lights. I've got no brights. I'm going to mess with my little jumper cable here and see why that might be. Do I not have power? Okay, so there's the power. So for some reason I'm not getting power. I think it's the same thing. So I got power to the lights. I'm not getting power. Man, the 69 is so weird. Almost. I think the wiring is fine. I think it's just powering the fuse block right now that is the challenge. So right now I have no brights, but I have regular lights, and that's because the bright part of the fuse block is not getting power when I flip the switch on. I don't know why that is yet. I'm gonna have to go back and study my spreadsheet to find out like what the story is. Good news, I had a thought. Look at that. So it dawned on me that I had not grounded the fuse panel yet. Basically, there's one screw that you have to screw into the chassis. That grounds the entire thing. Otherwise, it can get a little bit wonky. So I put a little jumper cable between the grounding spot and a ground, and the lights work. So it had nothing to do with my wiring. It just was not grounded. So that's great news. Everything works the way it's supposed to. And what I'm going to do here then is just do the same procedure on the passenger side. All right, here we are under the wheel well. I have put some new ends here on my horn. It was all rotted away, so I got that all cleaned up. Wrapped the original wires back in Tessa tape. Super factory. Zip tied things where I could. I then cleaned up my brake rotor and my shock and my sway bar, just so the whole front end here is all dialed in and perfect. Yes. Oh, that's interesting. So brights work on that side, but not on this side where they were working. All right, this one's good. I'm going to tape it up and put it all back together. I think whatever flaw I have is happening again in the fuse panel. So I have done a ton since I last turned the camera on. First and foremost, I turned the battery so it's flat. And I found this kind of old, I don't know if it's like a Phoenix Gold audio end here, gold. But I was able to put all of my power into one unit, which is really cool. Turned the battery sideways, got it totally secure in there. I moved the wire that was running sort of this way. I ran it around the gas tank after putting some heat shrink on it. And then look at that lovely thing of beauty. Look how nice and tight everything is now. There is a Perspex cover. This has got some sticker on each side, but this thing goes over the top here. And that basically, you know, kind of does a decent job of keeping it looking really clean once it's there. I'm not going to put it on just yet because I actually still am having issues with my brights. I don't know why they're not working, even though they were working before. So I have to troubleshoot that. And I still have to hook up the Classic Retrofit air conditioning. But now I have like all new ports to do that on. So super excited about that. Just love the kit though. I think the kit looks great. What I will do is I'm going to talk to Johnny from Classic Retrofit and just make sure that I've got everything where it's supposed to. And then in the description below, if you are doing a 69, I will put the specific routing that you need to do for these wires. It feels so much better now to have this dialed in so it doesn't look like a complete rat's nest. Again, this is where we started and this is where it is now. So much better. I will troubleshoot my brights. And then really, I still have a ton of stuff I want to accomplish with this electrical. But getting this Classic Retrofit fuse panel in there first is the first step to making things organized. So thank you guys for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel. We do a lot of things for vintage Porsches around here. Sometimes they even have a Porsche engine in them. Anyway, see you guys next time. Keep on rocking. Talk to you soon.